Everybody, welcome back to another highly combustible reaction. We're jumping to the next one on our Sabaton history. Father Fritz Haber. Let's go on a journey, see what we got. Shout out to Martine. I definitely appreciate it. We will roll right into Father from Sabaton right after this. Let's go.
Hi there, I'm Pat from Sabaton.
And I'm Indy Nidell.
And today here on Sabaton History Channel, we are premiering a brand new song.
You are hearing it here for the first time.
Father.
Not every legacy is easily distinguishable as good or evil. Sometimes it's more like the light of a candle. The brighter it shines, the longer it casts its shadow. The master chemist Fritz Haber's accomplishments have lifted humanity up as a whole, helping billions of people, yet also caused terrible, agonizing deaths and lifelong suffering for hundreds of thousands of others. It is a legacy seemingly caught between ethics and science, between idolization and condemnation, between home and exile, yet also true to his own credo, in peace for mankind, in war for the fatherland. The Nobel Prize Committee of the Swedish Royal Academy announced its honorees for the years 1914 to 1919, the war years. 5 of those honored were Germans, and among them was Fritz Haber. He was awarded the 1918 Nobel Prize for Chemistry for the groundbreaking achievement of creating synthetic ammonia. Yet, there was a loud roar of outrage by French and British scientists who sent in notes of protest. Haber, they said, was the father of chemical warfare. And yeah, he was that too. Fritz Haber.
This is going to be an intriguing one because there's going to be people that stand on both sides of the fence, and there's going to be a whole bunch of us that are just straddling it, not knowing what to think. I want to know how many other people there are like that save thousands, but at the same time also killed thousands. I guess it all depends on which side of the line you're on, whether or not you like the guy, whether or not his weapons were used against you, or
was born in Breslau, Prussia in 1868. His father was a wealthy Jewish businessman who supported early on his son's interest in chemical experiments. Haber studied organic chemistry and physics at the university in Berlin, where he graduated cum laude in 1891 and reached full professor of physical chemistry in 1906. Already then, he was making great strides with his intellect and drive, while boasting that he had never attended a single lecture on physical chemistry except for his own. But he had yet to find his niche. From gas phase chemistry to electrochemistry, his interests were not limited to a single field of research. This would change when he was confronted with what was considered a classic problem, the Malthusian trap, which holds that growth on our planet had a limit since people multiply exponentially and resources arithmetically, and that the Earth's soil could only feed and sustain a certain number of people. Chemistry and the production of potent fertilizers challenged the Malthusian nightmare. But the question of how to artificially replenish agricultural soil with nitrogen that in turn could be metabolized by plants remained unsolved. For the ambitious Haber, this problem presented the perfect opportunity to leave his mark on the scientific world. The scientists before him had provided theories that the fixation of hydrogen and nitrogen out of the air was indeed possible, yet no one had found the correct amount of pressure, heat, and the right catalyst to do so. Without going into detail, it would be Fritz Haber who finally succeeded where others had failed. Through correct calculations and by adding an osmium catalyst, he achieved the desired gaseous reaction and brought about the equilibrium constant. Eureka! There was ammonia. In cooperation with Carl Bosch, who'd go on to replace the osmium with an iron catalyst and the industrial capacities of BASF, synthetic ammonia would soon be in full production. What is known as the haber-bosch process would literally change life on Earth, as it made today's population numbers possible. So billions of people can thank Fritz Haber. Even at the time, his discovery elevated Haber to the top of the pops in Germany and beyond. And in 1911, as a group of prominent scientists from the Prussian Academy were thinking of creating an institute for the elite of Germany's intellectuals, it was Haber who was proposed as one of its directors. As the head of the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physical Chemistry and Electrochemistry, Haber would have the first heyday of his career, and science in Germany thrived like it never had before. Like all good things, though, the era of scientific prosperity came to an end. But quickly, the outbreak of the Great War not only put an end to nearly all research that was not vital to the war effort, but it also shattered the previously well-knit international academic community. What was once for the sake of all mankind, leading their research according to principles of the République des Lettres, was now stifled by the demands of warring nations. And scientists were drafted into the chemists' war to build the deadliest weapons of their time. Fritz Haber's research into ammonia was almost immediately of importance for the German war machine. The Kaiser and his generals had planned for a very short war, and German explosives and the propellant industry relied on saltpeter nitrate imports from Chile, which was now blocked off. That problem was overcome by Haber, who was now hailed for creating gunpowder from the air. But this was only the beginning of his involvement in the war. In the early morning hours of April 22nd, 1915, a greenish-yellow fog, up to 2 meters high, crept towards the Allied lines. It was driven by the wind, and those who smelt it described its sweetish, chloric smell, which was also irritating like pepper. But those who did so were also soon seen coughing, spitting, and retching. Caught in the fog, men clutched their throats, their eyes red with pain, stumbling around in terror. Many simply collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. The Germans had unleashed 160 tons of Haber's newest invention, chlorine gas. As a weapon, the gas attacked the mucous membranes and the wet tissues of lungs, eyes, and throat. This was the advent of modern chemical warfare. No one was quite aware of what kind of Pandora's box had been opened. For Fritz Haber personally, the day was both triumph and tragedy. The German military called Haber a national hero and symbolically promoted him to Hauptmann. His marriage, however, was reaching its darkest point. Like her husband, Clara Haber aspired to leave her mark on the scientific world. She was even the first woman to get a doctorate in chemistry at the University of Breslau, with her thesis on the solubility of heavy metal salts. Heavy metal. Yet, unlike her husband, this did not open the doors of the academic world to her. Although her colleagues were generally supportive, this was not a time when women often found employment in fields like physics or chemistry. Clara worked as a freelancer, but was frustrated over her expected role as a housewife, mother, and hostess to the prominent guests of her husband. Tired and depressed by an unfulfilled life and a dysfunctional marriage, Clara took her own life. On the day when Fritz Haber was hailed a hero by the press, she was found dead by their 13-year-old son. Haber's thoughts about her death remain unknown, and contrary to a lot of public opinion, there is no evidence that Clara's suicide was caused by her husband's involvement in chemical warfare. Either way, Haber left for the Eastern Front the next day to instruct German pioneers on how to deploy his new weapon.
My 13-year-old son just found my wife dead, and I'm going to leave the next day.
Gas would become one of the most feared weapons of the whole Great War. But although many of Haber's colleagues spoke out against its introduction, calling it a perversion of science and fundamentally abhorrent, it was not universally condemned. In fact, far from it. The Entente was quick to retaliate, of course, turning gas warfare against German soldiers as well. Haber argued that he wanted to primarily break the psychological will of Germany's enemies, much like with the frightening effect of a flamethrower or a bayonet charge. Once the stalemate on the fronts was broken, it would save so many others from the machine guns and artillery shells of a prolonged war. Until the end of the war, the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute would continue to produce other chemical agents, most notably phosgene gas and ypirite, also known as mustard gas. Haber introduced the concept of Bundschießen, where different kinds of gas shells were deployed in an effort to act as mask breakers, right? Like one kind of gas would penetrate the filters, forcing the affected soldier to take off his mask, only to then be hit by an asphyxiating gas shell the next moment. Yet, poison gas ultimately did not shorten the war. Instead, it's estimated that by the war's end, around 1.3 million soldiers were wounded by the effects of chemical weapons, many blinded or with lungs destroyed, many of them killed by asphyxiation or internal bleeding. The armistice saw the Entente publish a list of around 900 alleged war criminals they wanted to bring to trial. Haber, as the father of chemical warfare, was among the most wanted. The Hauptmann quickly got out of his uniform and fled to Switzerland. But the charges against him were soon dropped and returned to his institute in Berlin. In 1920, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for his ammonia synthesis. At the ceremony, no one mentioned his involvement in trying to keep the German war machine afloat, nor how his inventions gave birth to modern gas warfare. Many in Europe's scientific community simply wanted to return to how it was before the war. Haber never showed any signs of remorse. Instead, he turned his full attention to the prosperity of his institute. Under the great Haber, it would attract many world-class scientists and promote new ways of scientific thinking, from embryonic quantum mechanics to gas kinetic studies to the transfer of energy between atoms. There were many branches of science at work here.
I would say that I'm mad at the guy, but honestly, every country's probably doing the same thing right now. We've all got our no-nos, our do not use, our break glass in case of emergency style weapons. Every country is always looking for new weapons. That's it. No matter what the new creation is, can it be weaponized? Like, so it's hard to hate on one hand, and at the same time, now you got all of this things that he did on the other hand that are great for humanity. It's like a damn coin toss. It would have to be on whatever day I felt, how I felt that day. Like, oh, maybe one day I'll hate him, the next day, can you blame him? Like, in war, ultimately, everybody believes they're right.
One somewhat funny project called Gold from Seawater was aimed at combating the Republic's growing debt by extracting gold from the oceans. Okay, although based on a huge miscalculation and soon abandoned, the idea showed how open-minded the Institute was to unconventional ideas. Supported by prominent sponsors from the industry, Haber would enjoy another heyday, which also came to its end. When the Nazis rose to power in 1933, they soon extended their clutches to Germany's scientific world. Although Fritz Haber had converted to Protestantism when he was 25, he was still a persona non grata to the new state. Hitler personally hated the Jew Haber, who openly supported the democratic principles of the Republic. Yet, Haber was too well established to be attacked publicly. Instead, they pressured him with new laws, demanding the Institute fire all scientists of Jewish ancestry. Haber, who believed that science and academia stood above such differences, could not accept this, and instead put in his own resignation letter. Then he was basically banished from the fatherland he had worked tirelessly to save and improve. At first he went to Cambridge University, then toyed with the idea of moving to Palestine. But he could not bring himself to fully break with his German identity. Haber died in Switzerland on January 29, 1934, from a heart attack. To this day, Fritz Haber's legacy remains controversial, at least historically. From a purely scientific viewpoint, his accomplishments in the world of chemistry were indisputably the works of one of the greatest. The benefits of the haber-bosch process are enjoyed every day around the globe. But the legacy of the horrors of gas warfare remains a dark shadow over Haber's and mankind's history. Father.
It's horrifying.
Okay, Per, this song is not on any of the albums. Go.
All right, it's actually like this. So we know that you like a lot of songs from the Great War, and we did as well. And it's a massive,
huge undertaking.
Yes,
huge concept.
A huge concept, and there is a lot to sing about.
Yeah,
we knew already when we had finished the Great War that we needed to cover the Christmas truce. But eventually, because of the pandemic, that led to the entire war to end all wars.
Ah.
But we were still not ready with the pandemic, so we still had time on our hands. We were not touring, and we actually recorded more songs.
Yeah.
And then we felt these belong in the same universe. This also belongs in World War I, and it will extend throughout the entire tour with new releases that's connecting to the album tours.
Yeah, so the album, the album's been out for a while. The second Great War album, War to End All Wars. And so this is extending the theme even further.
Yes. So we recorded 3 more singles and EPs. Yeah, well, singles. And they're going to be bundled into EPs, connecting them. So the first one that's come out, this one, Father. It's obviously about inventions in war. And when you think about that, the first one, the first EP is connected to inventions during the Great War. So there we have the Attack of the Dead Man comes in there, of course, and it also fits in with future warfare, about the invention of tanks.
And something interesting that I've talked about. I talked about in the Great War, the incredible technology leaps during the Great War, not just poison gas and stuff, or even tanks, but in many ways. The world went from 1870 to 1940 in 4 years. You had mobile X-ray machines, all right, which, how many lives did that save? Yep. You had the femur splint, which if you had a broken femur, your thigh bone, in 1914, you had a 90% chance of dying and a 10% chance of surviving. By 1918, it was a 90% chance of surviving and a 10% chance of dying. No, but it's
a hell of a turnaround. Like, God. It's impossible to not say that great things have come from wars, things that we need, science, but also it came with a horrific price on the other side. A lot of people had to pay for it. I don't know. It's hard to be angry, but at the same time, it makes you disappointed in human beings. Why, just because we can do something horrible, should we do something horrible? Why wouldn't we focus all of our effort on doing the great things?
It's interesting that this is the first
war,
this is
man.
where you
it makes
start
you do crazy
with your,
shit.
Let's say, extended play of that.
And it's going to go on. And in the next, let's say, year, we're going to release a couple of more.
Okay. Which I don't know what those are, by the way. I don't know what those are yet.
They are still secret for most people. Let's say we have a song about a hero.
Yeah.
And then we're going to call that EP Heroes of the Great War.
Okay,
and
cool.
you can guess a couple of them maybe who's going to be on that.
I can guess a whole bunch of heroes of the Great War.
Yeah. And some of our previous songs that's going to fit into that as well.
Okay, so it's really tying the whole knot.
It's tying up, and it's also to help a lot of people who missed a lot of songs.
Yeah.
To rediscover them, to have a chance. I mean,
to go back, so
because
like
we're
Carton
gonna,
de Viart and
yeah,
stuff like that.
exactly
Sure,
like
sure.
that.
Okay.
So we're gonna reactivate some of the songs, release new content related to some of the songs, and focus a little bit more on them around the release of the EPs.
But back to Father, the song, but not really the song, more the name. I mean, it's a fairly common-ish name for a song and stuff. I mean, you're not the first band that's ever had a song called Father.
That is true. We sing Fader vår in Carolinens
Of
bön.
course, that's true. That is true. And we sing Our Father, who art in heaven.
But maybe you had some other song in mind.
You know me too well, Per. You know me too well. But I was thinking about Glenn Danzig.
That's Mother.
Yeah, I know. But that's why I'm thinking Father and Mother. You see what I mean?
Ah, okay.
And Pink Floyd, Mother from Dark Side of the Moon stuff. But you've got so you've got the two mothers, you've got Father, and you've got Father Vor, and you've got Papa Don't Preach by Madonna stuff. But wait, okay, can I hijack this episode for just a second?
Okay.
Do you mind? I'm just gonna hijack this for a second. Glenn Danzig, before Sam Hain and Danzig, you know, they had the Misfits. And when I was in my early teens in Houston, Texas, I was really into punk and new wave. But there was the only radio channel you can get it on was local Rice Radio, and I couldn't even pick that up at night. I lived too far away from the university. The record store. It was like a 20-minute bicycle ride from my house, Hastings Records, which was huge. It was biggest part of this compound, and they had one little with 3 rows that said punk and new wave, with 3 rows of records. And I would save up my money, because it was like $7.99 to buy a record. It's a lot of money for a kid then, like if you're 12 or 13 years old. And I would buy a record based on what the record cover looked like. And that's when I got Misfits Walk Among Us, because Misfits looked so cool on Misfits Walk Among Us. So I bought that, which is still one of my favorite albums today ever, which I still think is the best thing Glenn Danzig ever did. No offense to anybody who likes any of his later music and stuff, because I liked him better as a punk. I did.
Okay, I thought that you're gonna say that's where I found Papa Don't Preach.
Oh, no. This was before Papa. This was before Madonna. Madonna was still the drummer in the Breakfast Club then. By the way, there's your trivia for today. Before Madonna became Madonna, she played drums. She was a drummer. She played drums in a band called the Breakfast Club before Madonna became so if somebody says, well, what instrument does Madonna play? You can go, drums. But,
and now, if we can
hijack back
it back. Sorry, to Fritz Haber.
To Fritz Haber.
Yeah.
And
we haven't mentioned him yet today.
No, we haven't mentioned him. Does he need a mention? I mean, how do you feel? Like, is it controversial for you to talk about it?
The thing is, okay, throughout history, there have been people that are complete, absolute monsters. Amoral, not even unmoral, amoral, with no moral compass. People who have done great for humanity, and I think Fritz Haber is one of those. The fact that there's no remorse for creating weapons that murdered in a horrible way. Being shot in the head, you die. Poison gas, you can have another 60 years with half a lung and with your eyes burned out and stuff like that. But you cannot deny that synthetic ammonia is one of the great discoveries of the 20th century.
Yeah,
I mean, he absolutely deserved, in pure scientific terms, he deserved the Nobel Prize for that. How do I reconcile it? I have a hard time reconciling it. I think I would not have liked to hang out with Fritz Haber.
No.
I think I would. But what do you say?
If we travel back in time, we're going to avoid him. But we're probably not going to travel back in time to meet Fritz Haber.
Probably.
We're probably going to look ahead for new episodes of Sabaton History Channel in the future.
Machine?
In the future, we can't wait to see you guys there. Don't forget to click subscribe, and don't forget to keep checking your internet for future episodes of Sabaton History.
I don't know. It is
Thanks
one
for watching.
of those things.
Click that little bell so that you get updates when we release new episodes. And thank you for subscribing.
All right, now, without fighting, down inside the comment section, let me know where you stand on it. It is a very hard thing to decide because of you, more people get to live, but because of you also, a whole bunch of people died. Like, How does it work in your mind? I see it being controversial 100%, especially for anybody that was involved on the other end of that whole gassing. Like, might take a while to forgive somebody for something like that. But as an outsider who's never been, I've been gassed by the military in like a gas chamber, but then we carry around gas masks, but we don't use gas. Like, when's the last time we were gassed? On that side of it, like from an outsider's perspective, I can kind of see both sides of it. Probably wouldn't have been the guy's best friend, but I definitely am curious to know what the whole community has to say. Definitely let me know down below. We're going to jump into Father right now, so I'll be right back. All right, we're back. Sabaton, Father official lyric video. Shout out to Martine for bringing us this moral conundrum of a man. It is definitely one of those things where you got to sit there and think about it. I've even talked to the Discord people about it, and it's just one of those things where it's hard to say. Like, what would have happened had he not been here? Would the world contain less people because of his discoveries hadn't been discovered? Or I don't know. I don't know how to explain it all. Definitely get over the show. Sabaton, all the love in the world. Go to Sabaton history, the love. Let's go.
Young men with great ambitions rise. So who can tell me, who can say for sure which one will win the Nobel Prize? It was a golden age for science. The Kaiserreich would hold the key. And as the conflict came and tensions rose, the manifest of the 93. Haber-bosch, the great alliance. Where's the contradiction? Fed the world by ways of science. Till the order saint.
I don't know.
Father of toxic gas and chemical warfare. His creation has been repeatable in no man's land. A poisonous nightmare, a deadly mist on the battlefield. Perversions of ideals of science, lost words of alienated wife. And in the trenches of the Western Front, unknowing soldiers pay the price. And on the battlefield they're dying, and on the fields the crops are grown. So who can tell us what is right or wrong? That's all morality alone.
Hey, knowledge, they say knowledge is power, and power corrupts, right? So how come every time we get something great, we want to turn it in, we want to flip around and do something bad? Like, powerful people, man, greedy, corrupt. I don't know. I don't know how to feel. I'm confuscated.
The world by ways of science, see the Lord a saint. Father of toxic gas and chemical warfare. His creation has been repeatable in no man's land. A poisonous nightmare, a deadly mist on the battlefield. Father of toxic gas and chemical warfare. His creation has been repeatable in no man's land. A poisonous nightmare, a deadly mist on the battlefield. This peace, he belongs to the world. During times when there's war, he belongs to his place of birth. of the battlefield. Father of toxic gas and chemical warfare. His dark creation has been repeatable. A no man's land, a poisonous nightmare. Out in the midst of the battlefield.
That's definitely a damn moral dilemma. That's what it is. Because what would the world look like without the guy? I don't know. There'd probably be a lot less people. Would it be more sustainable? Who knows? There's so many whats and ifs and buts and ands and whys, and it's insane. I don't know. I don't know how to feel right now. I don't know how to feel. I'm confusticated for sure. Get over, show Sabaton all the love of the world. Go show Sabaton history, the love. Let me know what your feelings are down below. And that's a dangerous ass thing for me to say, but go ahead and do it anyway. Smash the like button if you liked it, the dislike button, but I won't believe you. Tell the next one I'm either Combustible. You guys be happy, healthy, safe. I love you to the moon, the bag.